Okay, this story now. Cosatu and other ANC alliance partners are out in their numbers across the country, marching against government's handling of the economy. The Labour Federation has asked workers to stay away from work in support of the strike. It wants the governing party to fix the economy as a matter of urgency. The strike comes just a few weeks ahead of the local government elections. Let's speak now to Owen Nkomo about the impact of the strike at this time. He's, of course, market analyst and economist at Inkunzi Wealth Group. Owen, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on the Midday View. It is strike season, so to speak. We saw NUMSA out in the streets just the other day demanding an 8% salary increase. But we've seen Cosatu, the ally of the governing party, also out in the streets and saying it's time to fix this economy and stop retrenchments. What kind of impact can we expect such labour action at this time to have on our economy, which is in the doldrums?
Thank you so much, Praten. I mean, this strike comes at the wrong time. I mean, we've had strikes before, but things were different. The economy was, teetering along better off than it is now. It's currently in a very big spot of bother. So I think that a strike would most certainly challenge the economy even more. We cannot afford to waste even an hour away from work at the current moment. So if you think about a strike that might be protracted, then that's going to take away a whole lot of money out of our very limited government pockets. So we hope that if it does proceed, it doesn't, proceed for a very long time, because we all need to be hands on deck at the moment and, to try and get this economy out of the doldrums that is in at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, the jobs that are being lost, and of course the demands of high demands of salaries increase also don't help. I spoke to Thulas Nxesi a little bit earlier, more than an hour ago. So Thulas Nxesi, of course, is a Minister of Employment and Labour, and he was saying he does not want to be coming across like he is undermining the rights of the workers to strike and protest, but he wants everybody to come together to see what they can do under the circumstances, because the economy really needs all the help it can get at this moment.
Yeah, it's very true. Mr. Nxesi is right, and that's the right message to send out there. We need to be sitting around the table and trying to figure out how we save jobs, how we can grow the economy, how we can create more jobs, how we can create more accountability to the people that are sitting on the resources that can help us drive an economic recovery in the country. Most certainly, working away from each other is not what we need to be doing. I do think that the private sector and the government must work together, and the union certainly must be a voice of support to any efforts that are going to improve the lives of workers and at the same time improve the economy. I'm very happy that the tonality is saying, hey guys, the economy is not in great shape. We need the economy to be sorted out, which is just a call to the politicians and the business leaders to say we need to be doing something about it. But then again, I can imagine if instead of being on strike, we could get together and say, guys, we're setting up a meeting where we're only going to just monitor the implementation and, those bottlenecks that are avoiding implementation to happen, because the money is there and we need to put the money to work. We need projects to start. We need people to be hired. We need people to be accountable for their time they're spending, trying to improve things or play their roles so that the economy can look better. I believe that would be a better working relationship than continuing to work apart from each other.
And I mean, the demands for higher salaries. I mean, I was just thinking, I would sympathize with the trade union. I mean, NUMSA is saying it's 8% or nothing for the steel and engineering sector. And the employer is saying we can't afford it. Let's find a way, maybe around the inflation mark. So I'm saying, is it serving the interest of your members if you push for what might not be implementable, not because the employer does not want to, but it's just not available?
It's just not available, and it's a ridiculous expectation, honestly speaking. I'm sorry to put it like that. The economy is struggling, volumes of work have dropped, our partners in business that we supply to are not doing well, and not out of their choice. But then now you're supposed to go and fork up an 8% increase in salaries in an environment like this. I mean, that's a ridiculous expectation. And I think if you talk to the workers themselves and you paint the picture properly for them, they might understand. So if I'm to afford 8% increase on my salary base, then I must probably, cut some heads in the business in order for me to afford that 8% increase. I think it's an unfair and untimely request, and things like this should not be made a priority at a time when everyone is still trying to figure out how we can get the economy working again. And you're busy taking money away from the very sector that is paying the most tax in the country. The numbers just do not make sense, and I think people are ignoring the numbers in order to keep their jobs, and that's not the way things should be working, honestly.
Is there a body like NEDLAC, where you have business, labor, and government and other civil society sitting together, shouldn't it be the one that's used to say, under the current economic climate, what really each of us as the key stakeholders, what do they call themselves? Social partners. As the social partners in this thing, what can we put to the table to make sure that we drive it towards some meaningful growth so we can all benefit, because then we can create more jobs?
Yes, most certainly. I mean, we need everyone to be working. NEDLAC should be there. The union should be there. The private sector must be there. The president himself must be there. The critical ministers also might certainly need to be there. So that we're speaking on the same page. We're talking about our challenges around the same table, and we agreeing on the sacrifices that need to happen so that things can look much better. So I do hope that sense prevails, Praden. But at the moment, trust me, we're running companies. We've had to make tough decisions. You reduce people in order to keep people on the same salary, because the volumes have declined. The volumes in business have declined. So you can't create negative turnover just because you need to increase salaries for people. It's a period where we all have to sacrifice, honestly.
It's a period where we all have to sacrifice. If we don't sacrifice, what's the impact on the economy? Very briefly, what is it likely to be?
Oh, well, it gets worse, Brother. It really just gets worse. I mean, then you retrench people, then, more people are dependent on the states, and, companies start to fail. If they don't retrench, their revenue bottom lines decrease, tax collection for the government decreases, and in turn, government might not be able to continue with the same social service cost that the government is incurring, which is a story for another day there, President. And I think that, in my view, where there's low-hanging fruit, let's be honest with the citizenry and say, this is a different time. Let us focus on resuscitating this patient, which carries all of us, which is the economy, which is the national fiscus, without punishing any parts of the chain or any legs of this table that make sure that the economy is standing properly, President.
Thank you very much, Owen Nkomo from Inkunzi Wealth Group, for your input on that Cosatu nationwide strike and its impact on the economy and, of course, the upcoming local government elections. Sacrifices are required at this stage of our existence in the country. It's tough times for everybody.